Ladies and gentlemen, we ask that you take your seats. The program will commence momentarily. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Ehab Masad.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ehab Masad, and I am a proud Canadian. I'm a proud Canadian not because I was born in this country, but because I chose to leave my home country of Jordan 18 years ago and become a Canadian. Why Canada, you ask? It's because of the values and the beliefs that make this country the best country in the world. The person who is about to come on this stage not only recognizes these values and beliefs, but also shares in them and will bring them to Parliament Hill as the leader of the Conservative Party of Canada in 2017. She is a person who believes in taking a grassroots approach and makes it a priority to consult and listen to all Canadians from all backgrounds, coast to coast to coast. She's not shy of having the tough conversations and makes it a priority and will always be the only candidate that will bring us to win the election and defeat the Liberal Party in 2019. I've had the privilege to working with her in the past few years, either in my capacity as the president of the Rotary Club, where she takes time to meet with members and takes part in charity events, or in my capacity as the president of the Chamber of Commerce, where she coordinates roundtable to discuss important issues as a tourism and small business. And I have no doubt in my mind that she will continue to do this as Prime Minister. Being first elected in 2011 as Member of Parliament to represent Simcoe Grey, this great riding that we're in today, it didn't take her long to become the Minister of Labour and the Minister of Status of Women. She has been a member of the Conservative Party since the age of 14, and I know she doesn't want me to say this, but she was also recognized as Canada's top 40 under 40. She's a pediatric orthopedic surgeon, and she's been awarded the Order of Ontario. And it's my privilege and honor to introduce not only my friend, but also the next leader of the Conservative Party of Canada, Kellie Leitch.
Thank you very much, Ehab, for that kind introduction. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm running to become the next Prime Minister of Canada. We are going to win this leadership race We are going to defeat the Trudeau Liberals in 2019. Today, I'm going to tell you why Canadians are listening carefully to our campaign. This Liberal government is failing Canadians, failing to protect our historic Canadian values, and they are failing Canadians with enormous new government spending that is growing the size of government and choking off private sector jobs. Je me présente pour devenir la prochaine Premier ministre du Canada. Nous allons gagner cette course à la chefferie. Nous allons vaincre les libéraux du Trudeau en 2019. Aujourd'hui, je vais vous expliquer pourquoi les Canadiens sont si attentifs à notre campagne. Ce gouvernement libéral ne respecte pas le temps des Canadiens. Il ne respecte pas nos valeurs canadiennes historiques. Il ne respecte pas les Canadiens avec ces énormes dépenses gouvernementales qui alourdissent l'État et nuisent au secteur privé. Freedom, prosperity, Canadian identity. Many people say they are proud Canadians. I would like to tell you what that means to me. To be a proud Canadian. Whether you were born in Canada, or you came to Canada some time ago, or even this week, it doesn't matter when you came here or where you came from. It doesn't matter as much as where we are going as a country and as a Canadian people together. The expectation we all have is that Canada is a place where people are more equal than anywhere else in the world. It's a safe place because violence to resolve conflict is unacceptable and not tolerated. In Canada, more than anywhere else in the world, you are rewarded based on your efforts. More than anywhere else in the world, you have a real chance to succeed if you're willing to work hard. Canada is a place where you can provide for yourself. You can provide for your family. That is the expectation that we have for each other. If you are born in Canada, you have freedom. If you come to Canada, you have freedom. When you live in a society that treats everyone equal under the law, you have freedom. But when you prosper, when you are able to provide for yourself and for your family, you have even more freedom. Freedom and prosperity, equality of opportunity. These are the central and at the core of our shared Canadian identity. But that's not all. Canadians are generous. We work hard, and then we help others. We are generous to those here at home. We are generous to others in the world who need our help. Canada is always there. This is the Canadian way. We help when anyone asks. But the one Canadian value that makes Canada the special place that it is tolerance. Canada is a country where we have disagreements about priorities and about what's important, and that's valuable. But what's most valuable is that we have those disagreements within a framework that applies to each of us equally, where we respect individuals' rights to form their own opinion, where we don't seek to impose our views on others, where our disagreements are dealt with peacefully without resorting to force or violence. And when we don't agree, we are tolerant of each other's opinions. We are a tolerant society. Our tolerance and respect for one another has made us a strong nation, a diverse nation with many strengths from many people from every corner of the world. This is our way, the Canadian way. And it is the Canadian dream that has been made available to millions upon millions that were willing to work hard, provide for themselves and their families, and give back to their communities. In this country, you are free to practice your faith, whatever you choose. In this country, women and men are equal. In this country, you are free to love whomever you choose. But violence and misogyny will not be tolerated. Hate speech will not be tolerated. Mental and other forms of abuse will not be tolerated. On this, we all agree. It's the next part of the conversation that has been particularly troubling to the mainstream media, the Ottawa bubble, the Liberals, and even some Conservatives. The world has changed dramatically in the last 30 years, and especially in the last 15 years. The world is a much more dangerous place. The values that we hold dear here in Canada are not those that are held dear around the world. And those who disagree with our values are willing to go to greater and greater lengths to disagree with those values violently. At the same time, and because of the wars in Ukraine, Syria, Afghanistan, Iraq, more and more people are trying to come to Canada. We are the beacon of hope for the world. Immigration has become a more urgent issue, now more than ever before. And we know this because last year, the Liberals brought more immigrants to Canada than in any single year in the last 45 years. And let me be clear, immigration is a good thing for this country. Canada has been built by immigrants. But what is troubling is that fewer and fewer of the people who come to Canada do not get a face-to-face interview with an immigration officer. Only a handful of immigrants ever see an immigration officer face-to-face. Less than 1 of 5 people, less than 20%. I've been hearing from Canadians that more screening is necessary. And it's not just a large number of Conservatives, but a significant majority of all Canadians. Conservative supporters, Liberal supporters, New Democrat supporters, Canadians. A majority across all party lines want more screening, not less. Encore plus troublant, de moins en moins de personnes qui arrivent au Canada passent en entrevue en tête-à-tête avec un agent d'immigration. Seuls quelques immigrants rencontrent un agent d'immigration en personne. C'est moins de 1 immigrant sur 5, moins de 20%. Les Canadiens me disent qu'il faut être plus sélectif, et cela ne vient pas seulement d'un grand nombre de conservateurs, mais également d'une majorité de Canadiens, des partisans conservateurs et libéraux et démocrates. Une majorité de citoyens de tous les partis réclament plus de filtrage de demandes d'immigration, pas moins. And because of this, I will continue to argue that Canadians want to protect our nation, our way of life, our Canadian values, our Canadian identity. A Canadian identity that so many people have fought and died for. Now the questions turn to, why should we screen? And what are we screening for? The discussion of immigration and screening seems to focus heavily on questions of security and keeping out undesirables. When it doesn't focus on these items, it tends to focus on economic matters. But there is another aspect of the immigration system that is being overlooked, which applies to what I've been talking with thousands of Canadians about over the last 8 months. That is the concept of immigration as an act of nation building. The process that strengthens our country, the fabric of who we are and what we will be in the future. This is reflected in the objectives of the Immigration and Refugee Protection Act, which states that the purpose of the act is to enrich the social and cultural fabric of our nation. The significant decline of face-to-face interviews distracts from the concept of nation building. Sadly, immigration officers are under pressure to meet their quotas by glossing over paper applications. They have no opportunity to meet the people they're welcoming to our country unless they have suspicions about their authenticity of their applications. This is unhealthy and dangerous for our nation as a whole. Ce n'est pas sain, c'est même dangereux pour l'unité de notre nation. This trend became significant with the introduction of the Immigration and Refugee Protection Act. Prior to the introduction of the Act, most applicants for permanent resident visas were interviewed by an immigration official, a Canadian. The trend to waive interviews for straightforward cases arose during the late 1990s. Today, this Liberal government is obsessed with numbers and quotas. There are constant demands for more and more approvals, meaning the effective demand for fewer refusals, since refusals take more time, therefore making it more difficult to meet the approval quotas. There's more and more evidence surfacing that our immigration officials are expected to make 75 decisions per day. That's less than 5 minutes per application. How can we expect our immigration officers to fulfill their responsibilities to protect our country under these circumstances? These are completely unrealistic expectations. On the matter of screening visitors, refugees, and immigrants to Canada for anti-Canadian values, it's no wonder that every other person running for the leadership of the Conservative Party is against it. How can we even ask questions about equality of women or freedom of religion, about equality for all under the law, Canadian law, without face-to-face interviews or personal interactions with trained immigration officers? To be fair, Tony Clement did raise the issue of more interviews with trained immigration officers, and he's right. Now, the other candidates so far who want to become Prime Minister are indicating that they stand on the other side of the majority of Canadians on this important issue. Mais à ce jour, les autres candidats qui souhaitent devenir Premier ministre sont à l'encontre de la position de la majorité des Canadiennes et Canadiens sur cette question des plus importantes. I found the initial reaction to my discussion of Canadian values to be astounding. And for me, it was a tipping point. I could, as most conservatives do, talk only about the debt, deficits, and tax cuts. And while these policies are also important to discuss, they cannot be our only focus. Canadians are not only interested in tax cuts. Canadians care about how we protect our Canadian values, how we protect who we are and build our nation for the future. And we must not let the Liberals claim sole stake to any discussion of our Canadian values. We must not be afraid to talk about our Canadian values. I'm running for the leadership of the Conservative Party of Canada with a clear directive from the thousands of Canadians that I've met personally, and from the many more thousands who have written and reached out to my campaign, who have said, stand up for the values that make this country great, that make Canada great. I am the only leadership candidate willing to talk about and stand up for a unified Canadian identity that is based on historic Canadian values. How we protect those Canadian values in today's reality of ever-increasing immigration levels and ever-decreasing face-to-face interviews with trained Canadian immigration officers is up to us. We must screen for Canadian values. We must identify those who hold anti-Canadian values and, in some cases, ban them from entry. In other cases, we should require them to receive more education on our Canadian values and our expectations before granting any permanent status. But when our Prime Minister openly and proudly states that Canada has no core identity, there is no mainstream, this is worrisome and potentially very dangerous. And I'm confident that the majority of Canadians agree. A discussion of our Canadian values is not racist, xenophobic, or anti-immigrant. It's just common sense. And we should not be afraid or bullied by political correctness to have this discussion. Discuter de nos valeurs canadiennes n'est ni raciste, ni xénophobe, ni anti-immigrant. Ce n'est que de gros bon sens. Et nous devrions pouvoir mener cette discussion sans avoir peur, sans être bousculés par le politiquement correct. Our Canadian identity is such that we embrace freedom and tolerance. And these values allow each of us the chance to pursue our best lives and to become our best selves. I am proud to stand up for hardworking Canadians who truly believe in the need for a discussion about Canadian values and a unified Canadian identity. Like all Canadians, I'm proud of our rights and freedoms, as they've been embodied in our fundamental constitutional documents, such as the Charter. Now, recent public opinion polling clearly shows that the majority of Canadians have strong opinions that are the same as mine. The public does not align with the establishment. The public does not align with the insiders in the media. And it doesn't align with the political classes. But it is real, and it is significant. The establishment and elites do not decide elections. You do. Canadians do. And while I'll have some naysayers, I'm not afraid to say what I think and stand up for what I believe. The values that I was taught growing up, the ones that many of us agree are common sense and mainstream. Debate and discussion about Canadian values and anti-Canadian values should be welcomed. This is what happens in a democracy. It is not intolerant to believe in a set of values that we expect everyone to share, including those people who are visiting or immigrating to Canada. And while it's easy for some to trivialize this conversation, to try and paint the discussion in a negative light, I refuse to go down that path. Instead, I choose the path that proudly and unabashedly holds up our unified Canadian identity and our Canadian values. It is what Canadians expect, it is what Canadians deserve, and it is what Canadians are asking for. Now, one of the first values that I mentioned in my campaign is the value of hard work and the value of rewarding hard work. It must all start with hard work. As I've traveled across the country, I've spoken with countless Canadians who are working hard to support their families, and yet many of them are just scraping by. The Liberals, however, also working hard at spending at a reckless rate. They've squandered a budgetary surplus left by our previous government, and in typical Liberal fashion, they've already shown such blatant disrespect of taxpayers' dollars, your money. The sense of their entitlement is appalling. If we are to be a free and prosperous nation that allows Canadians to fulfill the Canadian dream for a better future for themselves and for their families, then we must put an end to ever-increasing government expenditures. That's why, as Prime Minister, I will implement a clear policy to fix this problem. I will cap government spending. This must be done with enormous new government spending that grows government year after year. The Liberals are choking off private sector jobs. There will be a cap on overall government spending. Ministers and public servants will have to do more with less every year. It's more than possible, and it is necessary. The Government of Canada must live within its means, just like you do at home. Si nous visons à être une nation libre et prospère, qui permettent à tous les Canadiens de vivre le rêve canadien d'avoir un meilleur avenir pour leur famille et eux-mêmes. Il faut mettre fin aux dépenses gouvernementales qui augmentent sans fin. C'est pourquoi, en tant que Premier ministre, je vais développer une politique claire pour régler ce problème. Je vais imposer une limite aux dépenses gouvernementales. Cela doit être fait avec d'énormes dépenses gouvernementales qui alourdissent le gouvernement année après année. Les libéraux nuisent à l'emploi dans le secteur privé. Les dépenses gouvernementales en général seront limitées. Les ministres et les bureaucrates auront à faire plus avec moins chaque année. C'est très possible et c'est nécessaire. Le gouvernement du Canada doit vivre selon ses moyens, comme nous le faisons tous à la maison. It's a vicious cycle. Bigger government, more rules, more red tape, more money needed to pay for it. Income taxes, carbon taxes, payroll taxes, all going up. Deficits every year, debt at historic levels, huge, inefficient government. But what really needs to happen? The private sector needs to grow, the public sector needs to shrink. That is the way to prosperity for the entire country. You work hard to pay off your mortgage. You don't just take out a second mortgage and expect someone else to pay for it. You make the tough choices of what you and your family can do. Priorities that are difficult but necessary. Skating lessons versus swimming lessons. Vacation or no vacation. Saving for future education or for your retirement. Reality. The Government of Canada must face this reality too. Prioritize and make choices so the next generation of Canadians can be prosperous. But we've all seen the caricature of the conservative who is interested more in money than in people. And we know that's unfair. As conservatives, we believe in a strong economy. We believe in prosperity, not for its own sake, but for what it allows us to achieve. Balanced budgets are a conservative dogma that all candidates are expected to endorse. Being dogma, it defies explanation and justification. To what end must we balance the books? For their own sake? Prosperity is a means to an end. That end is the greatest amount of freedom possible. Personal freedom, economic freedom. Canadians work hard, pay taxes, and want the freedom to spend their money as they choose. We want safety and security. You can clap for that, that's allowed. We want safety and security, healthcare, education, to be able to help those who cannot help themselves, and to help people who have worked hard and contributed to our system, but who sometimes really need a hand up at a certain point in their lives, like a lot of people in Alberta need right now. These services allow us to achieve more. They give us greater options. greater choices for pursuing the kind of life we want to lead. And this is where we differ from the liberals. We do not believe these things are entitlements. We do not believe we're owed them. Instead, we do believe that they are the benefits of hard work we do together to improve our lives together. But we have to work hard to get there, just like you do every day. Hard work that ensures greater wealth for Canadian families so they can support themselves and secure their futures. And this greater prosperity then allows us to help others and provide the supports that are required so that everyone can enjoy in the equality of opportunity required to build a better life in Canada. Most Canadians live this every day. This is the reason so many individuals and families choose to come to Canada, because Canada is the beacon of hope for the world, because our shared values, hard work, generosity, freedom, tolerance, equality of opportunity, this is what makes me a proud Canadian. We have a long campaign ahead of us. There is sure to be spirited debate around these and other issues as the campaign progresses. But from my travels so far and from listening to thousands of Canadians, it is clear that our party wants a leader who will stand up for Canadian values, who will stand up for hard work, and who will stand up for controlling wasteful government spending. Our party leadership must continue to listen to our membership base. But more than listen, they should deliver on what you want. We are off to a great start. We still have a lot of work to do. We have to raise money, visit riding associations, sign up new members, recruit volunteers. With your help, we can win. I've been a Conservative Party activist since I was 14. I've hammered in lawn signs and knocked on doors, and I've been listening. I know what the grassroots of our party is looking for in a leader. My experience keeps me grounded in the Canadian values that we hold dear. We must be honest and unafraid to discuss with our fellow Canadians who we are, what we believe in, and where we hope to lead our country. If this were easy, it would hardly be meaningful. So yes, we're going to have to work hard to get there. Work hard to win this leadership. Work hard to be Trudeau and the Liberals. Il faut être honnête et ne pas avoir peur de discuter avec les Canadiens de qui nous sommes de ce ne quoi nous croyons et des objectifs de notre pays. Si c'était facile, l'exercice serait inutile. Donc, effectivement, il faudra travailler fort pour y arriver. Il faudra travailler fort pour gagner cette course à la chefferie. Il faudra travailler fort pour battre Trudeau et les libéraux. We cannot get there alone. We have to inspire and motivate our membership to continue to get active. We need a fresh perspective and a new approach, one that proudly looks forward to the future. I know we are all committed. I know we will stand up for our Canadian values. And I know that, with renewed vigor, we will defeat Mr. Trudeau in 2019. Joignez-vous et moi et travaillons d'archipel pour prouver aux Canadiens qu'une fois de plus, le Parti conservateur du Canada est le seul parti qui défend les valeurs canadiennes et qui protège les familles, leur liberté, leur prospérité et leur avenir. Join me, and let's work hard to prove to the Canadian people, once again, that the Conservative Party of Canada is the only party looking out for their families, for their freedom, and for their prosperity and future, and the only party standing up for their Canadian values. Thank you. Merci.